First, I want to thank you, ladies and gentlemen of the parole board, for seeing me again. It seems we get together every couple of years, and nothing good comes from it. But this year I have a multimedia presentation for you, and I made a breakthrough, really. What happened was, I've been watching a lot of Oprah lately, and I decided to lose a little weight, you know. Maybe if I feel good about me, you'd all feel good about me. So I've been puking a lot, and I know it's not healthy, but I'm in here for life, so what could it hurt, right? So I've dropped a few pounds, and I feel good, and I can see my shoes. I couldn't see them when I got here. And one of the side advantages of throwing up a lot is I've been hacking up the medication they've been giving me. See, I'm not as drugged out as they had me before. I see things much more clearly. I think it was the old comic Paula Poundstone who said, if I had only aimed a few feet to the left, I'd be a national hero now. So really, it all just depends on your perspective, right? I mean, wasn't it Elvis Costello that once asked, wasn't it a millionaire who said, imagine no possessions? Of course, Costello was a millionaire himself at that point. But there again, it goes to perspective. And I've got a whole new perspective on what's happened to me on that night. Since I'll be acting as my own counsel, please bear with me to properly distance myself, my emotions. I will refer to myself in the third person, and I don't want you thinking, you know, I'm some full of himself guy like one of those basketball players or something. I only use the third person to give ourselves the proper perspective.
Ladies and gentlemen, it comes as a shock to us all, but new, irrefutable evidence has surfaced in the death of former Beatle John Winston Lennon that proves, if not beyond a shadow of a doubt, at least well enough for Michael Moore to option the movie rights, that Mark David Chapman did not act alone in the killing. In fact, he may have just been a pawn, a pawn doing the bidding of a mastermind, a puppet master, if you will, of a mysterious Oriental woman known as Yoko. These are the facts. In December of '08, a pudgy, demented dwarf by the name of Mark David Chapman came to New York City in these United States from Hawaii and checked into a sleazy $16.15 a night room at the local Y. This was his second trip to New York City that year. The pudgy and pathetic dwarf, who now sits before you at the Attica State Prison, had traveled to war-torn Beirut 5 years earlier in 1975 as a member of the YMCA's International Camp Counselor Program. The YMCA is, of course, a known Christ cult, and it provided his safe haven in New York City in December of 1980. Beirut, as we know, is in Lebanon, and Lebanon has been the base for a number of terrorist groups, many of them with links to the CIA. Now follow me now. On the morning of December 6, 1980, the pudgy dwarf Chapman took up a vigil 9 blocks away on the corner of West 72nd Street, directly in front of the Dakota, John Winston Lennon's New York home. Now, how did a simple security guard with limited education from thousands of miles away know the exact location of the secret fortress of one of rock and roll's greatest voices? Fact, on December 6, 1980, later in that day, Chapman moved out of the Y and into the Sheraton Hotel, where he hired a hooker but did not have intercourse. And I want to be very clear on this fact. He did not have intercourse. Fact, on the morning of December 8th, 1980, the day John Winston Lennon was killed, An emotional Mark David Chapman got into a heated exchange outside of the Dakota with one Paul Goresh, a freelance photographer of ill repute, who, it has been documented, had been stalking John Winston Lennon for over 2 years. Later that day, when an unwitting Lennon signed an autograph for Chapman, Goresh snapped several photographs of the pair that would be tragically linked for all of eternity. During that first meeting between Chapman and Lennon, Lennon left the Dakota with a number of friends. The mysterious Yoko Ono was leading the way. When it was found that Lennon's limo was not ready, they made plans to get another car, but the cat-like Yoko got into the car first, holding Lennon up and allowing Chapman to stop the rock star. Was this just a precaution so the myopic Chapman could get a good look at his victim, a man who had changed his appearance a number of times over the year? Or was this a botched first attempt on the singer's life? Now consider, on the morning of December 8, 1980, the normally robust doorman at the Dakota, Stephen Hargett, called in sick. Fact, the doorman on duty when Chapman shot Lennon was Jose Perdomo, reportedly a refugee from Castro's Cuba. During the day, Chapman and Perdomo struck up a conversation, talking about many things: the weather, the Cuban Missile Crisis, Castro's probable involvement in the assassination of another voice of a generation, former President John Fitzgerald Kennedy. Fact, Jose Perdomo would have been on the island of Cuba the same time as Frank A. Sturgis, a CIA operative who had joined Castro right from his early days in the mountains and rose to become Castro's chief of Air Force security. Sturgis has also been linked with E. Howard Hunt by numerous unimpeachable sources in both the JFK assassination and the Watergate break-ins. Fact, there are over 300 pages in the FBI's files on John Winston Lennon. Only 200 of them have been released under the Freedom of Information Act. The only reason, by law, that the FBI can withhold documents is if their disclosure would cause damage to national security. What did the United States have to fear from John Winston Lennon? This FBI also maintained files on singers James Thurgood Morrison, Janis Helen Joplin, and James Marshall Hendricks, and they are also all dead now. Fact, in 1972, 8 years before he was silenced, when Lennon applied for U.S. citizenship, the FBI's report on Lennon's application was stamped "Copy to CIA" in bold ink. Copy to CIA. Fact, George Herbert Walker Bush used to run the CIA.